Hi, Nayiri. I'm so happy to see you today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me, Lucie. Thank you. I'm always fascinated by how important the diet, carbohydrate control was in those days. And then everything just flipped and changed with the onset of the rapid acting insulins, and we were then told, oh, this insulin is works like real endogenous insulin, so you can just eat what you want and just inject and cover it with rapid acting insulin, so eat all the carbohydrates you want. But of course, it doesn't work. No one ever really discussed, or even I sometimes think, did they ever actually sit down and think that insulin would work at the same rate or at the same pace as your digestion, where you're actually digesting your food and metabolizing it or converting it into glucose? How do you match the two? If you look at any rapid or fast acting insulin, right, online, you look at when they start peaking, it gives you something vague like, oh, anywhere between 20 minutes to 2 hours. So how do you know when it's actually going to start peaking in you? And match that with another variable, which is, how quickly you're going to turn your food into glucose, then, you're just playing with fire. You're constantly going to chase your blood sugars. They're going to go up, and then they're going to crash, and then they're going to go further up again, because you're going to eat. Every time your blood sugars crash, you eat again, and then they go back up. So I kind of lived like that, I have to say, since probably the late 90s. When my insulin switched to rapid or fast acting insulin, then I was told, yeah, eat anything you want. And in fact, they would teach us about carbohydrate counting. So we would accurately count the carbohydrates in our food, so that we would have to take the right amount of insulin. But of course, they didn't tell us about, as I said, about the, matching the peak of the two, so of the insulin effectiveness and the blood sugar rise. So you can't match the two. So the diet I follow now is a low carbohydrate diet. In fact, I'm pretty strict, but, low carbohydrate diet works with most type 1s. Not everyone needs to be super, super low, or or even a carnivore. I'm very close to carnivore. I'm an alternate between carnivore one day, the next day I introduce some vegetables, the third day I don't include vegetables, just because this diet works for me personally. It's good for my blood sugars, but it's also, I find it optimal as far as, my joint pains are concerned, and my resistance training. So I find that meat or animal product heavy diet works best for me. So, but, for most type 1s, lowering the carbohydrates will mean lowering your insulin levels. And when you're lowering your insulin levels, you're not going to have sharp drops in your blood sugar. Of course, lowering carbohydrates means that you're not going to have sharp rises in your blood sugar levels either. And so most of the time, my blood sugars, apart from, there are the odd days, and we'll get into that in a minute, Lucie, but for the most part, my blood sugars are in a tight range. They go up and down, they go up, and when they go up and down, they're literally just going up and down within a range of, I would say, 3.6 millimoles over a liter to maybe 7 at most, or 6. So, anything between 65 to 120. So that's a relatively tight range. So we're not really looking at, what sharp rises and sharp drops. So I hope that gives you a background of where I started and what I do now.
Yeah, definitely. I try to keep to the same range too now, 65 to 120. Obviously that's aspirational on certain days.